Hey everybody, welcome back to Pristine Podcast. My name is Lero, and in this video we're going to talk about why your small business needs a podcast. So before I start talking about podcasts, we first have to understand, where does podcast fit in the bigger picture? Where does it fit in the intricate mechanisms of your business? How does it help? To figure this out, we have to understand that there's 5 main pillars that every business has. There's sales, there's operations, there's delivery, there's finance, and then there's marketing. So in order for your business to survive, you need to have a positive cash flow, right? So you need customers. And to get customers, you need to tell people what you do and how you can help them. And to make this possible, marketing is what comes in handy, comes to help. Marketing by definition actually is the action or business of promoting and selling products or services. So your business can have a very big impact by your podcast, basically, because you're going to tell people in your podcast what you do and how you can help them. Lots of them are going to listen. If you have a digital product, it's going to do very well because people can just, with a click of a button, can check your stuff and they can just purchase, even if you have like a physical product, if you can ship it, whatever it is. But yeah, you can see how having a podcast basically is going to enhance that sort of reach, because you're exposing yourself to a whole new audience. But why podcast in the first place, right? Like there's so many different options out there. You could do just in the written format. You could do an ebook, You could have an email list, an email marketing list, and you could send your people newsletters. You could have a blog post. In the image side, you could have an Instagram account. You can post images. You can do infographics, for example. In the audio side, you could literally open your own radio station. Why not? In the video format, you could post YouTube videos, TikToks, Instagram Reels. There's so many different options. Why specifically podcast? The most important thing for you to figure out is, what do you enjoy to do? Thinking about this, just imagine your own personality. What you would be more keen to produce, basically. If you're a shy person that doesn't want to expose themselves in social media by recording themselves both in audio and video, you might be best suited to do like a blog post, to write. But if you say express yourself more verbally, and you feel like when you write you overdo it and doesn't feel like you, because you have more time to change what you're saying. Well, if you're talking, you're being your authentic self. So maybe podcast then is a better idea, because you can communicate more clearly and people can connect with you via voice. So you have to figure out what you like. Now, something important that I have to mention is that podcasts in themselves are radio on demand. So different from the radio that you hear in the car, where the music plays and it's gone, you can't rewind. Podcasts you could hear at any time. You could play, replay, whatever you want to do. The reason why I'm saying this is because there's lots of podcasts in the internet who have a video as well, but it's mainly just filming what's going on. It's filming the interview. There's no effects. There's no fancy stuff, because if somebody's listening to you, which is what podcasts are meant to be, it's how they're meant to be consumed, and you're showing stuff in your video, people are not going to be able to consume that and they're going to leave. So, podcasts would be considered an audio format. So yeah, the most important thing is for you to figure out which one you like, So have a think with yourself, and whatever of the formats you end up deciding that you like, you can go for it. But if you're still undecided, let us take a look at the table that I've created to see more metrics, which will hopefully help you to figure out which one you like. Alright, so here's the table, nothing complicated. I just wanted to get the point across, just in case you're undecided of which one to choose for each of the formats, like the written format, the image format, the video format, etc. I've chosen one specific, style or kind of the format. So for written, I've chosen blog, YouTube videos for video, Instagram pages for images, and podcasts for the audio format, since we're talking about it. So as far as the grading goes here, 1 is the lowest, 10 is the highest, just to make it simple. And then there's a few metrics that I want to talk about. So the first one that we can talk about is popularity. So in popularity, the podcast ranks the third. Out of all of these, I've ranked YouTube videos, Instagram page as 9s because they're very popular at the moment. Like everybody has an Instagram page, YouTube videos are seen a lot, they're super popular. Blog posts have kind of fallen. Like I've seen so many different charts and they all are pointing out that the blog posts have fallen in popularity over the years, and then podcasts have risen a lot, right? So that's why I've ranked podcasts as a 6 and blogs as 5. Blogs are still popular because people rely on them to be informed. They're a very reliable source of information. You can see here a chart in the Google Trends. It may not be accurate because it doesn't measure how many blogs people consume and how many podcasts they consume. It just measures search volume. So as you can see here, the blog medium has risen over the years until about 2008 when it like stagnated, and then it's like fallen since then up to today. And podcast has risen from 2004 to 2005, been a bit, stable, not much happening until 2015, where it kind of like had a more steeper increase. And according to the podcast listening charts that I've seen, like how many people listen to podcasts, it's a much steeper growth than this, because people don't just search podcast in Google. They have their own podcast listening apps and they listen over there. So it's again, this is not very accurate, but as you can see, just by search volume, you can tell that there's been an increase in podcasts. It may not look as steep because the blog posts are like huge, right? They've been around forever. So if I remove the blog posts, for example, you will see that podcasts, you can see the much more steeper increase in popularity. You may have seen multiple appearances of it in pop culture. Me and my girlfriend watched Kong vs. Godzilla in the cinema about a month ago, and one of the main characters has a podcast, and it was very interesting to see podcasts making an appearance in a Hollywood movie. It's like becoming trendier and trendier. So in case you're wondering, am I going to be wasting my time because nobody's going to listen to podcasts? Don't worry about that. Most trends are pointing upwards for the next visible years, so just do it. When it comes to competition, things are looking interesting. I've rated podcasts the last on the competitive metric. So the podcast realm, I guess, is the least competitive realm out of all these other ones. The reason why I did that is because, let's take YouTube's, for example, right? Take Pumba, for example. YouTube videos, there is 37 million active YouTube accounts that are posting content, more than 10 subscribers. So in comparison to podcasts where there's less than 1 million, about 800,000 last year, so it might have gone to a million by now. So 37 versus 1, right? And blog posts, there's a bajillion blog posts scattered around the internet. No need to talk about that. Like, it's just huge. Instagram page, even though there's lots of Instagram accounts out there, since everybody's unique and what they do is unique, images tend to show that uniqueness. So I don't think it's very competitive. You can just break through by being you. And podcasts, you can do all that. Plus, there's very few people in the game, and you can start from now to grow, on the future where, everybody's going to have a podcast. So you'll be one of the earliest now to gain a decent sized audience, and you'll be one of the biggest people having a podcast in the future if you start now, probably. It's more likely. In terms of effort, I've ranked podcast in the second place by rating it with a 7 because it takes a decent amount of effort, from script to record, to edit, to doing the show notes, with all the stuff like social media, having a blog post, doing audiograms, all that stuff is very tedious. And in fact, it's right behind YouTube videos, which I've rated with an 8, because YouTube has the video dimension as well, which you can do the transitions, the effects and everything, but it still takes a decent amount. However, there is a way to reduce this 7 down to 3, just by you hiring us at Pristine Podcast. What we can do for you is do the editing and post-production of your podcast, which is the majority of the work, right? All you have to do at the end is just do the script and the record, so it will become super easy. To learn more, check out the link in the description to book a call so we can work together. The next metric is the production complexity. How complex is it to produce a piece of content, like an episode? To do a blog, it's easy. You just start typing and then you format your page a little bit. That's done. You can do that, in your bed. You can do that in a bar. You can do it in home, wherever you are. You just need to sit down, start typing, easy. So that's why I rated it with a 2. It's more than 1, I guess, because it takes a bit of creativity. But yeah, YouTube videos, it's a 9 because not only do you need the skills to talk in front of the camera, which I'm having to learn now. It's not easy. You need to, if you're like an extrovert person, awesome. But it takes a while to get used to talking to the camera. I'm still getting used to it. It's besides those skills and the skills to edit the video, to record, to do a decent number of takes before you got it right. You also need to have a studio, right? I mean, if you're doing vlogging, you can be wherever, that's great. But for a decent amount of YouTubers, you need a studio. And so you need lighting, it's not easy. It takes production, it takes so many different things to come together for you to produce one piece. With Instagram, you could take pictures, you need to be a bit creative though. And, that's why I've rated it as a 6, because not only like you need to be a bit creative with the pictures, but you also need to produce a decent amount. You need to post every day to be relevant. And when it comes to podcasts, I've rated it as a 4 because all you need is a mic, a script, and a computer. Like legit, you can just start recording, and then the rest of the magic happens in the post-production stages. So plus another good benefit of it is that you can batch record. Just like I guess you could do in the blog post, when you can start typing 5 blog posts and then schedule them to be posted every week. The same you can do with podcasts. It's difficult to do with Instagram and YouTube videos because they're more visual. If I say shaved, if I removed my beard and I did a batch record, I couldn't post these videos every week to pretend that I'm doing them every week, and then the 5th week or the 6th week I've got a beard again. It's like, whoa, what happened? So with podcasts, people can't tell if you've painted your hair, if you've done anything. You just batch record and then publish them continuously. So it's super convenient in terms of complexity. And finally, the last metric is consumability. And this is where I think the podcast shines. Like, it's a 10 out of 10, absolutely amazing. For one, people can listen to podcasts wherever they are, whatever they're doing. They can be driving the car and listening to podcasts. They can be doing dishes listening. They can be going to the gym or doing exercise listening. Like, it's consumability wise, it's super easy. Plus, as a bonus, people listen to 3-hour long episodes. Like YouTube, if you're lucky, if they're listening to 4 minutes, right? If they're watching, I guess. But in podcasts, you can do 3-hour long episodes if that's what your niche is about, and people will listen to the whole thing. Like, it's crazy on the consumability side. So that's why I rated it as a 10. Instagram page, people will be consuming it, randomly when they have nothing to do. YouTube videos are much better because people tend to watch more video content, but it's not as easy to consume whatever you're doing. And also, people only watch like 4 minutes at best, right? So podcast is like a huge king when it comes to the consumability. So the moment that you create your podcast, you will have opened your doors to a whole new audience that you can captivate with your business. The connection that you can have with these people is insane. Like, voice is way more personal than any of these other mediums over here. Like, you can transmit emotions, the tone of voice and everything. In fact, there are studies that show that people can estimate somebody's height, gender, and age just by listening to their voice. Like, it's crazy. And all of these things are going to go towards building a stronger connection between you and your listeners. Since you're with me now still, you probably think that having a podcast is a splendid idea. That's awesome. Let's talk about how it's going to help your business grow though. How it's going to make the impact. It's going to help marketing.